Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Hello and welcome into the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. I'm your host tonight, Cassidy Wood. And unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, the Penguins are now on an 8-game losing streak. Just got shut out 4-0 by the Canadiens. You know, unfortunate. Not what we wanted to see tonight. Really hope they would have snapped that skid. It was unfortunate to see them drop the 5 games here during the homestand, and now they're on the road and they're dropping more. So super unfortunate. At least the ones here at home were close, but the past couple, man, shootouts, and it's just been, or they've gotten shut out rather, and it's just hasn't been fun to see. I'm joined alongside Will Graves tonight. And Will, you know, for a minute there, the Pens were so hot at the start of the season. And look, I know it's still early. It's still very much early in the season. And it felt like during some of that skid, even into the homestand, they were losing these games the majority of the time in extra time, whether overtime or in a shootout. And it just felt like they were so close. But now they've hit the road these past couple games, and it hasn't looked good. So what have you seen from the Pens here recently?
Well, you know, I think it's a couple things. I think their confidence is obviously shaken a little bit when you lose the games, when you have a 4-goal lead in the third period, when you have the lead with 0.2 of a second left in regulation, and then it's tied with 1/10 of a second in regulation. When you have the pileup of that has, I think, affected their confidence. And the other part of this too is, look, is the schedule. I mean, look, they had the time off. They went to Sweden. They weren't that busy the first couple of weeks. Let's remember the NHL has a compact schedule this year because they got the Olympic break. So they're trying to, you know, so now they're trying to catch up until they get to the break, the first week of February. And I think that, you know, they're playing a lot of games in a short amount of time. Look, tonight, they're playing tonight. They're going to play the Canadiens tomorrow night, right?
Right. And
I just think that sort of, there's been not a lot of chance for them to catch their breath. And I think that sort of the momentum of this thing is starting to get away from them a little bit. And to your point, you know, at least when, you know, as bad as that homestand was, there was the one bad game against Montreal where they weren't that competitive, and then the Edmonton game. But the other 3, they were, I mean, heck, they had the leads in those games. Mm-hmm. They have not really shown much in Ottawa or tonight in Montreal that makes you think that they're slapping out of it anytime soon. It sort of reminds me of the Pirates a couple years ago where they got off that super hot start quite a while, right? So, you know, I was a pretty mediocre street hockey goalie back in the day, but I would look pretty good. I would, in the wins column, would look pretty good for me if I had those guys in front of me. So, you know, it would help if he or Seelovs could play well enough to kind of steal one. But to steal one, you got to score. And, you know, they're not even scoring right now. So, yeah, it's a rough patch. And look, and the irony is, I mean, this isn't even maybe the most important thing that happened in this week. I mean, having the Hoffman family sort of reached an agreement with FSG, which, you know, a very odd 4-year stretch for them as owners. I have full confidence the Hoffman family will be fully invested in this, as this is their thing. They're not, they get all these other businesses, and look, they run the ECHL's Florida Everblades, which a billion years ago, way before they got involved, I actually covered that team down in Florida, where they got a big following from all the snowboards coming down, you know, during the winter. But look, this is their first foray into major professional sports. I have no doubt that they will do everything in their power to make sure that the franchise remains what it has been really for the last 20 years, one of the marquee franchises in the league. The curious part, and the part we're all starting, you know, kind of waiting to see, is what role will Mario Lemieux have in this? Mario keeps his cards very close to his vest, but I would have to imagine if I was the Hoffman family, I would just say, hey, Mario, whatever you want to do, just let us know. You have carte blanche to sort of be involved at any level that you want. If I was them, that's what I would do. And I would really think, you know, the one thing that was sort of missing during this weird this FSG tenure was this sort of the familial aspect. There was not a lot of family. It felt very corporate, right? Yeah. And I think that it will. I'm pretty sure that part will absolutely change going forward for the Pens.
So you believe the Hoffman Group is going to be a little more hands-on than, you know, FSG was? Yeah,
I think especially, you know, look, this has been an aspiration for them, right? To be a professional team sports owners, and you know, I think it's when you have you know, families. I mean, look at the. I mean, look, the Steelers are the Rooney family business by and large, but I mean, you know, I think there's just a lot more, you know, pride. That's not the right word. But when you don't have conglomerates
And,
sort
like,
of running this
camaraderie.
thing, right? Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think this is something they've been working toward for a long time, and I just think the care factor is going to be super high for them as they get involved here, and I would assume it'll get rubber stamped by the Board of Governors here in relatively short order.
Yeah, now you mentioned too, just on the ice, the momentum, it's kind of getting away from these guys. And again, they play the Canadiens tomorrow. How do you remedy this? I mean, do you just wait till you get a little break and like give the guys some time off? I mean, how do you change the tides and swing it back?
The schedule doesn't really offer them much, much help here. I mean, there'll be a little bit of a break around Christmas. Maybe that will allow them to sort of kind of reset. I mean, the good news and the bad news is, before this skid started, they were literally 3 points out of first in the Eastern Conference. Mm-hmm. And now they're basically almost at the bottom of the Eastern Conference. I mean, but that's, and we're only talking about 8 games here, but in which they've gotten, a handful of points because they've lost in some shootouts, some OTs. But that's sort of the good, if you want to sort of, if you're looking for good news, it's like, the conference is because we're still 25, 30 games in the season, it's still pretty packed, right? Like there hasn't been a big separation. I think there's a good opportunity for them. I don't think what we saw those first, 6 weeks, 7 weeks was a total mirage. I don't. I do think trading your best goaltender, is interesting, but let's be honest. I mean, if you had told us at any point, imagine a year ago having a conversation where Tristan Jarry's contract was tradable.
Yeah.
Right. It wasn't.
Right.
So you have to give Kyle Dubas credit for that. You do they got a pick as part of the deal because of course they did. Skinner is I think he'll be fine, but the reality is they have not played that well in front of him either.
Right.
And I do think that they, I don't think there's going to be a big mushy middle in the Eastern Conference, when we get to late March, early April. And I think they have an opportunity to be right there. But yeah, I mean, this can't, winning tomorrow night would be a nice little way to kind of get going as we get towards Christmas.
Yeah.
But, this is, if they're going to stop it, it does have to be soon. This is, we can't sit there and give them another week or two to kind of get it together. It's got to happen a little more quickly than that.
Yeah, they pile up pretty quick, and that's where we're at right now. All right, guys, give us a call, 412-575-2600. We're going to head to our first break, and we'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the Nightly Sports Call. This is our Xfinity tweet of the night. From Bert, who is the Steelers PR, essentially, head of Steelers PR. The Steelers are downgrading Nick Herbig to out for Sunday's game in Detroit. The team is also upgrading Christian Kuntz from questionable to no injury status designation. So exciting for Christian. He gets to get back out there tomorrow, but unfortunate for this edge rush group that is already missing its number one in TJ Watt and now will be missing Nick Herbig. So this means that the rookie, Jack Sawyer, will likely get his first NFL start tomorrow in Detroit. So, guys, I'm nervous. I don't know about you. I'm nervous about this Steelers team going up against Detroit without much of a run defense. And I say that, obviously that front line is all the starters are back. So that's very exciting. But to have the edge rushers, which is kind of, the center of your defense in most situations, to have two of those guys out is just not a good thing when you're going up against a rush attack that with a 1-2 punch in Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. I mean, it's just scary. Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, Cassie, the good news is Derek Harmon will be back, and I think you dive into the numbers. The numbers with him in the lineup and with him out of the lineup are pretty jarring. I mean, it's almost like 100 yards a game difference that they average fewer when Derek's in the lineup. But look, there's no player as important to the Steelers defense as TJ Watt. I mean, that guy can change the course of games and in some ways the course of seasons in a play or two. And when you're playing a Lions team that is, playing for its playoff life, still, I know Ben Johnson's in Chicago now, but still maybe the best offense in football. It's going to be a super challenge. Jack Sawyer has shown some promise, but this is going to be a big ask for him to fill in tomorrow for TJ and for Herbig. Yeah, I mean, the running attack is scary, but also Jared Goff has been going off this season so far. He's third in the league right now in passing yards, and Aaron Rodgers is 23rd in the league. So obviously, great game Monday night. We saw him, sling it quite a bit. He had the highest completion percentage that he's had in a while in that game, and it was exciting to see. It was also exciting to see him spread out that offense among a whole cast of characters, cast-offs, as he said. But it was cool to see that. Now, do you think that he's going to be able to do that in a dome, which is beneficial, but against Detroit tomorrow?
I think if they want to win, they're going to have to. I mean, I think the key to this game is sort of, one of the things they were able to do against Miami was win the time of possession battle, which has sort of been an issue for them all year because they've had a hard time kind of, sustaining drives. So I think really the key for them to stay in this game is to kind of have those 10 plays, 70 yards, 6 minutes, 50-second drives. And that means Aaron Rodgers needs to be what he was on Monday night against the Dolphins, really good on those short, quick passes. I mean, as good as he's been, maybe, since he got here. To his credit, though, I mean, after the game, he was asked, were you in the zone? He's like, I wasn't really in the zone. It was mostly just underneath stuff. But look, that's what you're going to kind of have to do, because look, they don't have, he's not going to be bombs away. That's not going to happen. We've seen enough of this offense. We're so deep into the season. They have to survive being effective on the ground with the Jalen Warren and Kenny Gainwell, and then hoping you convert those 3rd and 4s, those 3rd and 5s, those 4th and 1s with the Pittsburgh plunge with Connor Hayward taking the snap. I mean, the best way to beat the Lions is to keep Jared Goff off the field. Yeah. So Rodgers is going to be very comfortable in Detroit. Very, very comfortable there. This week, I kind of asked him, is the vibe different in December than it is in September? And he's like, no, not for me. I've been doing this a long time. But he's also, he has a sense of calm, and he's kind of hoping that permeates the team. But there's going to be some young guys knowing that tomorrow's going to be a really, really big game for them. If they can steal that game, I mean, I think I saw this, the other day, what their playoff odds go up to like 96%. Mm-hmm. And look, Mike T is due. They always kind of have one or two a year where they win that they're not supposed to win. I would say that maybe they've already had those games with the Pats game where they got the ridiculous 5 turnovers, a couple at the goal line. In a game they maybe didn't deserve to win otherwise, and then winning at the Ravens a couple of weeks ago. So I don't. Maybe they've used up their hey, this is the one that we steal. But if they're going to steal it, it's going to have to be having the ball 35 minutes, no turnovers, and hope the defense kind of can keep as Mike Tomlin likes to say, keep a lid on it.
Yeah, I mean, and like you mentioned, the Lions are going to have to win out if they want to sniff the playoffs at this point. If they lose tomorrow, I think they're pretty much done. So they're going to be hungry, and it's going to be a tough one. All right, let's go out to the phone lines. We have John in Perrysville. John, what's going on?
Hey, Cassidy. First, let me say I'm really glad to see you as an addition to the Papa Pompiani and Rich Walsh team. I don't understand how you guys can keep with all the intricacies of all the different sports you cover. But real quickly, TJ Watt, the most difficult thing with his injury is it's called a pneumothorax. You have to be really careful with that lung tissue inside. It'll be very easy to re-injure should it occur again or come close to it. I think what the Steelers need to do is they need to step up. Aaron Rodgers is doing a great job. I think Mason is coming back to here, and he's doing a great job, too, as a backup for everything. But they really have to come together. They have to culminate in playing together. They have to really know what's going on, what have you, and they really do have to really take advantage of the games and opportunities when they have them.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think, too, what's awesome to see is, and I think it has affected this offense in a positive way, getting MVS and Adam Thielen in here. I think it has kind of opened up that pass game a little bit more. DK Metcalf is an incredible wide receiver. He's $30 million hands, but he's getting double teamed. Like we've seen it all season long, and he's just not an easy target for Aaron Rodgers. So bringing in those 2 other vets, I think it's really helped him out, and he's familiar with them. So when you get an older vet like Aaron Rodgers, get him familiar, some familiar guys in here, familiar faces, I think that helps out his confidence too. Well,
no, and I think, look, at Thielen, an excellent, he and I had an extended conversation the other day about, like, dude, I didn't know you could block. Like, you're a 2-time Pro Bowler with a guy that would get 100 catches a year. That I thought that was your thing. And he's like, yeah, but like, I wasn't that when I got in the league, right? So I had to be really good at everything else. And he, look, he sprung a couple of runs the other night. MVS, look, he is not going to be targeted much, I think, on 3rd and 6. But, what he did on Monday night, that he can still do. If you get him one-on-one and have him get in a foot race with the guy, he's still pretty fast. I wouldn't call him an exquisite route runner. I wouldn't say his hands are great. I wouldn't say he's he's not Adam Thielen. I mean, but he is a guy that I think once or twice a game, if you get the ball in his hands, down the field a little bit, I think he's got a chance to be a difference maker.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right, guys, remember, too, this is our Penn West University question of the night. You can scan your phone, tap the QR code, and vote there. Who will win tomorrow, the Steelers or the Lions? Let your voice be heard, and we're going to send it to break. Give us a call, 412-575-2600. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the Nightly Sports Call. I'm your host tonight, Cassidy Wood. Joined alongside Will Graves, and we've been talking a ton of Steelers, Detroit Lions. Big game tomorrow. I want to mention, too, the Ravens are taking on the Patriots. And, hey, if the Ravens lose tomorrow, it pretty much seals the deal for the Steelers. And the Patriots, they were hot, 10-game win streak. Lost, 35, 34, 31 to the Bills last week, so they're hungry. And I think they might come out and pull out the win tomorrow, which would be very good for the Steelers.
Yeah, I mean, look, Lamar missed practice, set out one day this week. So, I mean, I
feel
think
like he's missed every Wednesday
Right,
practice.
I think he's not, I really think we're at the point now where he's not going to be healthy until 2026, right, until next season. So, maybe and look, the Pats, to your point, they got to be smart enough, 21-0 at home against the Bills with a chance to bury them, and you let that kind of get through your grasp. And everybody's saying, well, who have you beat this year? Who have you beat?
Right.
I think they're going to be, I think they've got a decent shot. They take care of the ball. I would imagine they can beat and will beat the Ravens tomorrow.
Yeah, fingers crossed. And Will, we had a ton of college football today. Now, I want to talk about this a little bit. Nick Saban had some choice words to say on ESPN a couple days ago about the Group of Five schools. He compared it to AAA baseball, competing in the MLB playoffs. And you don't do that. And so obviously people were hoping Tulane and JMU would be able to keep it kind of close, but the games kind of went as everyone predicted. Just where do you stand on Group of Five teams getting into this 12-team playoff?
Look, I think let's blame Virginia for blowing the ACC title game for part of this, right? Look, the allure of the NCAA basketball tournament is sort of the Cinderella stuff. The Group of Five stuff, football is a different sport, but I think had one of these guys won the game today, I think they would be an all-timer, right? I think there's room for those people, but maybe in a 16-team playoff, which we'll get to pretty soon, I would imagine. Yeah,
I agree with you. And we have a lot more college football to watch next week, so that'll be very exciting. Thank you guys so much for joining us on this Saturday before Christmas. Well, thank you. And I will see you guys next time, same place, same time.